Okay.
Okay. Hi, this is Ricky. This is part of my video journal. Today is Sunday, June 25th, 2017. I did a journal entry earlier this morning and the camera cut off on me. These are a little unplanned. I had something in my heart, so I wanted to do another journal entry tonight. I'm going to read from this book. The book says, it's toward the end of it, it says, I can read better like that. The destiny of man is not limited to his existence on earth, and he must never forget that fact. He exists less by the actions performed during his life than by the wake he leaves behind him, like a shooting star. He may be unaware of it himself. He may think that his death is the end of his reality in this world. It may be the beginning of a greater and more significant reality. We cannot but be struck by the disproportion between the duration of a man's life and the duration of his influence on future generations. Every one of us leaves a trail, either modest or brilliant, and this conviction should make itself felt in all the acts of our lives. Consider the case of the father of a family who, by his character, example, and opinions, has won the admiration of his children and associates. His memory will persist long after his death. His words and behavior will inspire people whom he has not known. That which was best in him, which he gave sometimes unconsciously to his circle of friends and relations, will never die completely. An impressive trail is that left by the thinkers, the prophets, those to whom we owe the unalterable framework of our moral life. Their names are forgotten after a period of 5,000 or 6,000 years. We only know those who inherited the most ancient oral tradition and created the written tradition that perpetuates the memory of their personalities, the memory of their brief passage on earth. But the immortality of the unknown ones, the pioneers, is just as real, even though it only manifests itself amongst men by an anonymous tradition. Figuratively, one might say that the sparkling trail of the evolution of spirit is blazed on the dark background of eternity by the combined individual wakes. Every man can, if he wishes, leave a more or less brilliant trace behind him, which widens or prolongs the existing path and contributes to its fan-like expansion. This is a kind of impersonal immortality of which we are sure. True, individual immortality escapes rational conception, but is hardly questionable if we admit the reality of the wake. The wake of the first man who buried his dead and protected their faces with 2 tilted stones. The wake of the first man who forbade his children to kill their fellow men. The wake of the first man who decided that the wounded and impotent, incapable of hunting, should be fed and not left to die. All these wakes are real today, more real perhaps than when they originated. We have forgotten the gratitude we owe these trailblazers. They are with us at all times. Modern man is a tributary of the most distant past, and linked to his remotest ancestors by an immaterial but unbroken thread, more durable and more impressive than the pyramids of Egypt. The wakes of Moses, of Buddha, of Confucius, of Lao Tzu, of Christ, probably exert a greater influence over humanity today than when these men were pondering over its fate and happiness. No man ever disappears completely if he strives to do good and expects no reward outside of the joy of having contributed to the progress of mankind. Our intellectual endeavors, our whole science, will be of no avail if they do not lead man to a better comprehension of himself, of the meaning of his life, and of the resources buried in his inner self. That's the book I wanted to read from. This is a picture I found in the book. Thought it was real pretty. The book is Human Destiny. It's an older book, Le Comte de Nuit. Glad I had the time to read it and share it. It means a lot to me. I was thinking of the passage today when I was at work. And I know a man hurt me and brutalized me. And I know he's living his life and leaving the trail behind him. And I know in the passage he mentioned Christ and Lao Tzu. And I think of what I read about Lao Tzu, about us swimming with the current or against the current. I hope the man who hurt me learns to find his way back to a better current. And I hope the trail I'm leaving behind me is one that can bring happiness down the road. I can spread joy. The author just put into words something that just feels right to me. I'm sure people on the internet can find simpler, more succinct ways to paraphrase just what he said, but it just doesn't feel as right unless you read it with some emphasis, with some knowledge that there's a thinker trying to tell you, live your life and think about the consequences. I know I haven't been perfect, and it's a struggle. Sometimes I get upset, and then I realize, why did I act so silly? What's this trail I'm leaving behind? And it's something I struggle with. And it's just so easy to try to do good, and that trail we're leaving behind, I want to work at it, and I want to inspire, and I'd like some positive feedback. I want to hear if you're inspired. And thank you for listening.